everybody, welcome back. I'm super excited to kick off this new series called The Comeback Kid. When you hear that title, you probably think of someone who was in a tough situation but managed to bounce back over time. A good one from when I grew up is called the Mighty Ducks. They were this underdog hockey team that never won, and they were made up of a bunch of people who couldn't play hockey very well. But they came and they won. They tried hard, they didn't give up, and they made a comeback. We all love a comeback story. That's why in this series, we're talking about one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. A kid who was literally born next to animals, grew up in a small town, and then became famous because of all the good that he was doing. A kid who grew up to be rejected by his friends and faced death. He had a comeback that had the potential to change all of our stories. In fact, his story can change how we think about our own comebacks in our lives. Isn't it true that maybe we all love a comeback story because we all have needed a comeback of our own at some time in our life? No matter the situation, it can feel overwhelming when you feel down and out. When we feel that way, it's normal to look for a solution. Unfortunately, if we can't find a solution, we often look for an escape. Sometimes the very thing we hoped would provide our comeback actually makes things worse. Isn't it true that even if our own comebacks don't work out, that sometimes it isn't enough? So what do we do when the comeback we're hoping for doesn't turn out to be all that we're hoping for? Is it possible that what we really needed isn't just a comeback? What we really need is hope. So let's look at someone in the Bible who went through a really tough time and needed a comeback. So Martha is a close friend of Jesus, and she had a brother named Lazarus. One day he got really sick. Martha knew that Jesus had healed people before, so she sent word to him asking for help. So you'll see me using some balloons for a demonstration right now. So Martha hoped that Lazarus would be okay. And out of that hope, she prayed that God would help the situation. But by that time that Jesus had arrived, it was too late. And Lazarus had died. Martha felt what I think anyone would feel, that all hope was lost. She felt deflated. In John 11, we read about her interaction with Jesus when he showed up. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been there for my brother, he would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha answered, "I know he'll rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Martha was honest with Jesus about her disappointment, about feeling deflated. She believed her brother would rise again one day, but it didn't change how heartbroken and deflated she felt today, on that day. Next, Jesus said something that changed everything. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" Jesus was claiming to be God. He said that he is the resurrection and the life. That's present tense. That's right here, right now. Martha could have hope, not just in some future reality, but she could have hope in him right here, right now. The good news, she believed in Jesus. She said, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who came into the world." Jesus is the person who gives us hope. We can put our hope in Jesus, not just because of what he said, but because of what he did. He raised Lazarus from the dead, and he proved to Martha that what he said about himself was true. We can be filled with hope, not because all of our circumstances work out, but because of Jesus. Jesus was proving that he is the person who gives us hope. So what does that mean for us? That Jesus is the resurrection and the life. It means that Jesus wants to give us a full life, a life full of more joy, peace, hope, love, and all sorts of other good things. Even when we feel like all hope is lost, we can trust that Jesus can still bring restoration to our life for a comeback. So what does that look like? There's a few things that I think can help us, and they're in the form of questions. What is your hope in? Is your hope in passing a test? Is your hope in your family staying together? Or is your hope in Jesus who can do all things? And how does hoping in Jesus change how you live? Having hope can be difficult, but the good news is we don't have to look for hope alone. So after you ask your questions, take action by doing this. Talk to people who can remind you to have hope in Jesus. Jesus said, He is the resurrection and the life, and that changes everything. When He raised Lazarus from the dead, it was more than just a miracle. It was a glimpse of the kind of hope He offers all of us. As we go through this series, we're going to dive deeper into why we can trust Jesus to be the ultimate comeback and what that means for our lives. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.